Hi, I'm Endorsed Spell to Write and Read trainer Liz FitzGerald from Northern California, and I'm here today to talk with you. We're doing a 5-part series on goal planning with Spell to Write and Read, and I have somebody who wants to come join me today. Hello. All right, so this is day 4 in our 5-part series, and what we're going to do today is work on a 3-week game plan. Okay, so get out another piece of paper. And what I want you to do is look at each of the students that you're teaching. I'm assuming that either per student or per group. If you've got some students that are grouped together, then you would look at that group. But if you're teaching maybe only 1 or 2 students and you're teaching them separately, then you need to look at each one of those teaching scenarios. So I want you to get out your calendar, and I want you to look at when do you have school meetings, field trips, family celebrations, anything that's going to affect your school lessons and what you want to accomplish for the year. Now, yesterday we looked at how much do you think you can realistically accomplish between now and the end of the school year, and this is going to play into that. You might have said, oh, sure, I can teach 20 words a week between now and the end of the school year. And oops, I just remembered we're taking a family vacation for 10 days in March. And well, that's going to affect how much you can accomplish. So you need to look at that. I know that a lot of the people using Spell to Write and Read are also doing classical conversations. And what I hear a lot from people that are doing classical conversations is that pretty much takes up 1 day of the week. I gave an example, I think it was on day 2 of the series. I gave an example of when I was doing cubbies and how that totally derailed my plans for 1 day of the week. And I basically didn't teach that day. So you need to take a look at that. Take a look at what your schedule is. Also take a look at how the littles being attended to on days when you're trying to focus with the older kids and their lessons. So in other words, maybe you have babies, maybe you have toddlers, and how is their part of the real life mix going to play into what you can accomplish? So I did a blog post. I don't remember when I did it, but it's on the blog. Again, if you're watching this video on YouTube, then the link will be in the video description. And if you're watching this on my Facebook page, I'll put a link to the blog post in the comments below. But I did a blog on the lesson planning tips. And I'd like you to go back and look at that. And what are the things that you need to be including in your lessons as you're planning them out? So I want you to actually write out what you want to do each day. Now, I only want you to do that for the next 3 weeks. This might take you a little while. Only 3 weeks. Maybe 3 weeks is too much. Maybe you need to just look at 2 weeks. You could do just 1, but then in the calendar is going to be your next lesson planning session. Because what happens is we plan it out and then life happens and we never sit down and plan again. So actually in the calendar needs to go your appointment with your lesson planning. But I actually recommend that you do 3 weeks at a time. And you need to write out what are you going to be doing for each day's lessons. When I was teaching my kids, if I did not write down review phonogram cards, guess what? I'd forget. And I'm a trainer. I should know that. But when it was time to actually sit down with the kids, if I didn't have something to look at and remind me, I would forget to do that very, very important step. So get out a piece of paper and write down what is it you want to do. What are your lessons going to look like? Go back to that blog post where I did the lesson planning tips and use that as a guide for putting your lessons together. Now, put on your calendar, I already referenced this, when are you going to sit down and do your next planning session? I suggest that you plan out 3 weeks at a time. I suggest you use pencil because things are going to change. And you might want to just check things off. So if maybe you wrote out something for day 1 of your first 3 weeks and you only got through 3 of the 5 things you had planned, just check them off, and then you can come back on day 2 and pick up right where you left off. So in 3 weeks, let's say you actually do a 3-week game plan. When you come back in 3 weeks, I want you to ask the questions that we looked at on day 2 of this series. What's going well? What have I done well? Celebrate. What's not going well? Oh dear, I didn't see that coming, or I didn't realize that that was going to be a problem. So what's not going well and what needs to change? And then do some realistic problem solving. How can I get back on track? How can I tweak things? How can I make some adjustments? If I had done that when I was in the middle of Cubbies, I would have realized that, you know what? Every time I sit down and I do this, I notice none of my Thursday plans are happening. Maybe I need to change my plans for Thursdays. All right. Do you do weekly planning? Is that part of your normal process? And if so, is there a non-negotiable time in your schedule for that? Do you automatically, at a certain time every week, sit down to do that kind of lesson planning? I scheduled Sunday evenings for that. But there were a lot of times when I'd get home from church on Sunday evening and I was exhausted. And then I would head into Monday morning and my plans were not written out. I would forget to do phonogram cards because I had not written it out, and I was derailed from the beginning of Monday. And so in hindsight, I probably should have planned some time on Saturday afternoon when I could have addressed that. Or maybe I needed to do that on Friday. Maybe I needed to plan Tuesday through Monday so that Monday was already planned and then Monday night I could do my planning. I don't know what works for you. But do you have a regular time, either each week or every 3 weeks or every 2 weeks? Do you have a regular time that you sit down and you look at what is it I need to do? Am I ready? Am I prepared for the next week or two? If not, figure out a time when you think you can do that. And then, guess what? Reassess whether that's working for you. But it's very helpful if you do your planning ahead of time. Okay, so you've got some homework to do. This is part 4 in our 5-part series. Come back tomorrow for part 5.